in St. Louis, like everybody else has. Brysan Duvall, like you said, Nathan, is a wholesaling expert. He is a lead generation expert. He has done fix and flips, and just the guy is a great real estate investor. The cool thing about Brysan, the great thing about Brysan is that he does give back to the community, and he loves giving back to the community. I'm not going to tell his whole story, but he's got an amazing story. I'm sure if you come to Gateway to Freedom, you'll find out a little more about that as well. But the thing is, Brysan wants to pour into the real estate investing community and give back. This guy took just, let's say, one little nugget, and he found out how to do wholesaling, and this guy exploded into an awesome, incredibly successful business. Welcome, Brysan Duvall. What are you doing, buddy? How you doing?
Sorry, I had myself muted. What's up, guys? How are you doing today?
What's up, Brysan? How are you? Yeah, man.
I'm good.
So excited you're here. Thanks for making it. You were a last-minute ad for us, which is why your name wasn't all plastered all over all the marketing for this event. But I'm super pumped that you're here, Seth. Thanks for taking the time to come in and have the conversation with our audience here at Mind Renovation Nation. We've been talking about all kinds of things today. Incredible speakers are going to be at the Gateway to Freedom lineup. And you have got a unique niche and expertise that Rich and Josh have crafted this thing and orchestrated this thing so beautifully. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about what you're going to be speaking about at the Gateway to Freedom event that's coming up?
For sure. I appreciate the introduction, guys. I appreciate the sales pitch on me as a person, as an investor, getting on here. I appreciate you guys for the opportunity as well. In a nutshell, I'm going to be speaking about wholesaling, the art of it, the benefits of wholesaling, the advantages of using that as a launch pad into becoming a successful real estate investor. I feel like there's so many lessons that can be learned through the wholesaler's journey, and that prepare you to be a great burr investor, like Rich said, to be a great fix and flipper, and using that as just a low cost, low barrier to entry, starting point to really make active income. Because, I think a lot of people, it's easy to think like, hey, I want to own all these rentals. I want to be a fix and flipper. And I guess it just depends on where you are in your life. Are you a W-2? Are you a high earner at your job and you just want to do something passively? Or is this like you want to make this a career? If you want to make this wholesaling can serve both. That could be a side hustle, active income type of strategy to build your cash reserves. It can be a full-time entryway because, if you're going full-time in real estate and you aren't working a job right now that's paying you, you got to make cash, and buying rentals to make $200 a door isn't going to pay your bills. So, that's in a nutshell. So I'm just going to go through the process, the benefits, and my journey as a wholesaler.
So I have to ask you, Brysan, we've been asking a lot of different questions to get to know the speaker a little bit better, right? To know who you are so that the audience can begin to resonate with the right people. Maybe, you're a good fit and somebody else isn't a perfect fit for them. And so the question that I have as I've been thinking about this, what has made you the most successful and powerful in your real estate investing journey?
That's a great question. Successful and powerful. I think one of the things that has led me here, being able to even speak at an event like that, is my ability just to keep it real with the people. Anybody that I talk to, that I do business with, I transact with on a regular basis, any of our, strategic partners in my business, I feel like I've had a great level of success just to connect with people. And I don't fancy myself as like a networking expert or a connector. Like I believe Josh, Rich, those guys are natural connectors. And I don't necessarily think that I don't have the same skill set yet. I do need to improve on that, but I keep it real. I keep it authentic. And I think people are attracted to me because of that. And that's led to them being more attracted to me, to doing business with them, whether that's a seller, a buyer, another investor.
Sure, for sure. Everything in life, especially in real estate, has trade-offs, right? We have to make choices. We need to make decisions on whether we do this or do that. And you got into wholesaling and became an expert at wholesaling and fix and flips. What were some of the trade-offs that you made in your life to make it work?
A lot, man. I think for instance, first getting into it and going full time. Well, even before I became a full time real estate professional, my trade-offs was my time and extra free time when I was working a W-2 job. Where it wasn't the hardest trade-off for me, because once I set my eyes on something, I get pretty obsessive on it. So I don't think I was like, oh wow, I need to cold call and I can't go out with my friends. I'm just like, whatever. Like it's got it. The pain of being where I was great enough to motivate me, where I could say the trade-off was easy with my time, really. So my excess time was fueling the business, trying to make it into a career. And then, the trade-off still is similar sometimes today. How I spend my time now, how many hours I work. I'm getting better about, using my time more effectively now in time management, where I'm capping the hours I work, because I was working, 60, 70 hours a week, and I no longer do that. But yeah, time was the biggest trade-offs. Also relationships and friendships, because it's a trade-off, because you come to a point where you start to realize that some people just don't align with your vision anymore, and it starts to be where you get around certain people that love you, you trust them, they mean the best, and their energy is not bringing you life anymore, right? We've all been through that and I think in the path to success, and that's a trade-off. The trade-off is sometimes having uncomfortable conversations with people that you love, or having that space just so that you can control your own mindset and control really your vision.
I love that answer. In fact, when you talk about trade-offs, people are like, I've had friends and relatives and stuff tell me in the past, I'm not working on Saturday. I'm not working on Sunday. That's the weekend. That's my time.
Right.
And I have to say, I'm here on Saturday for you guys. Right? Like, yeah. These are trade-offs that we all make in order to be successful. And so I appreciate that answer so much, because sometimes there's people that we have to trade off. Sometimes there's time decisions that we have to trade off. And so if you're going to get into wholesaling, you're going to have to make some decisions about what trade-offs you're willing to make in order to make that work. Some people, I'm going to trade my full-time job to do this full-time. Some people I'm going to do this part-time, and I'm going to do it part-time in that deal. What are some of the major roadblocks, though, that people have, and how can you help eliminate those roadblocks to the wholesale business?
I think some of the roadblocks, I guess there's a few. So one of a common thing is just, I think it's just pure ignorance, and I should say lack of knowledge, or I'll label it generally as ignorance, whether they're culpable in that ignorance or not, or they just haven't been exposed. That's on a personal basis. But I think there's so many people that we live in a society where obviously I was on the end, so I'm now a licensed agent. So I went from wholesaling, fix and flip, to okay, now I have an agent, or have a salesperson's license. A lot of people start off and they think their only avenue into real estate is getting a real estate agent license. So I think the roadblock is really just a mindset, and people thinking that, like, okay, wholesaling is like slimy, it's grimy, it's less sophisticated, wholesalers are bottom feeders. I've heard it all, right? And I think it's a roadblock, because it's amazing how many deals I've done with educated agents, provided value to their clients as a buyer, or wholesaling a deal that's really shouldn't go on the market. So there's so many roadblocks. I think really it just deals with the connotation and the narrative around wholesaling, or the other roadblock is thinking on the other end, if people are really interested and they trust wholesaling in the beginning, the roadblock is thinking that it's a get rich quick scheme. Saying, cool, I'm just have this expectation of I'm going to start cold calling in a week, and then I'm going to trip and fall into a $50,000 check, right?
Yeah, sure.
And that's and I think alleviating it is the only path is, for me, has been through, repeatedly, cold calling, finding out a way, almost giving up, losing money, making money, almost going broke. And, you know, I feel like the only way to get around those roadblocks is to work on your mindset as much as you're working on your business at the same time. And you can do both. That's a beautiful thing.
100%. That's why I call my show Mind Renovation Nation. We work on our mindset as well as working on the skills that we need in order to thrive in the real estate industry. You said something about get rich quick scheme, and I want to bring up a quote from one of my mentors that I follow online. His name's Myron Golden. If you guys ever get a chance to check this guy out,
he says, great.
If he asked the question, is this a get rich quick scheme? And his answer to that is always the same. You better hope so. Right? Because if you get rich slow, you'll be dead by the time you finally get there. So you better hope that there's at least an opportunity to make some money fast in a good way, but honest, ethical, healthy, transparent money. Right? So so many people have a jacked up mindset about money. And if you haven't watched my previous episodes of my live cast that I've done, I've got 3 different episodes, 3 different parts on understanding the money mindset. And I want to make sure that you guys understand, like, it is not a bad thing to have a good, healthy money mindset, guys. So many people live in poverty because they think that poverty is greatness and wealth is wicked, and that is so not true. And if anybody knows the truth about that internally, it's Brysan, because you started in wholesaling. This is not typically something that people get into and go, oh, it's because I'm an honest, integral person that I'm going to be a wholesaler. A lot of the wholesalers that I've come across, at least in my real estate investment journey, are not you. They're not your caliber of wholesaler. They are very much, I'm going to do as minimal effort as possible and not get the results. And then I'm going to go complain and talk about how wholesaling is a scam, or how it's, you know, somehow, shape or form, it's a bad industry to be in. What do you say to those people?
So it's interesting you say that, because, you know, I think a battle of a beginner, because I went through this battle too, where, you know, me as an ethical professional in every way, regardless of what exit strategy I'm doing, there was always this thing I would come up against where there was buyers that were trying to buy my deals. They would look at me as less than, right? And they would try to control the deal and all those things. And I learned very early on, thank God to mentors, is to understand my value as a person and value what I do, right? And the same is, in my experience, the same applies for a real estate agent. It's just because they are almost masked and protected by this veil of a realtor board. I'm an agent too. I'm a realtor too. So I'm not giving any shade, but they don't get the same commentation because it goes through a state board. They have to qualify for it. So they're just saying, but it's like, there's the same real estate agents that don't do shit anyways. It's the same thing. I'm just going to keep it real. They do the minimal thing, expecting the maximum results. That is the thing with anything in any industry, regardless of your role in the said industry. Am I wrong?
No, I mean, we talk about it on the show, and, you know, I could get into it. I have a real estate license as well.
Yeah.
And I could get into a 2-hour talk with everybody about the travesty of realtors in the United States.
Yep.
Because I'm not going to get on soapbox.
and I know I'm passionate about it too. So I'm not coming for any agents. We're all in the same. We're all in this together. We're all teammates. We're all on the same team. So this isn't a thing where it's an attack on a wholesaler or an agent. I'm just keeping it real. Of the reason why the wholesaler stands out, because they're like, oh, well, they let anybody just cold call and get a deal. So those guys are doing something minimal, but the guy who went to Keller Williams and went through all the training, who also sucks, doesn't get the same shade.
I can't.
You know,
we could go down that whole rabbit hole. I want to keep it. I want to keep it in line though for this concept of people to get to know you a little bit more around the concept of, there's some skills that you need to bring with you whenever you're going to be a wholesaler.
Right.
People think that skill is you have to be a good negotiator. They think that skill is that you got to have the ability to cold call and be incredibly talented on the phone. What are some things that you would say to those people? What skills should you bring and need to have in order to be successful in wholesaling?
That's a great question, and I think my answer to that has definitely evolved. Where I thought like the way I guess I was influenced on the way I came up in the game. So like I thought if you weren't good at being on the phone and cold calling, like you were not going to be successful at all, right? Because that was just what I was focused on. I'm like, I just make calls all freaking day. I'm making offers all day. It doesn't matter. I can be at this desk for 4 hours straight making offers, trying to lock up deals, right? So I automatically thought that was the case. But as I learned, sales looks so different depending on your process, depending on your marketing as well. You know, some people, there's no negotiation. I have friends in our St. Louis market that I think they wouldn't classify themselves as being good negotiators, but they're super upfront and transparent with people in their communication. So people just trust them. That is the negotiation. You know, so I used to think like, you know, negotiation was this hardcore thing. Like, I'm not saying a number first, you go for, you know, how we're kind of socialized of like being the salesman in the office, in the boiler room, and I'm closing. That's what I fancied myself as, and still do to some degree. But, but at the same time, my point is that, yes, it's a skill set at learning how to be liked and trusted. That's the skill set.
Yeah. We talked a lot about building trust with Frank and how important it is to build trust as a lender. It's also important to build trust when you're walking through a real estate transaction, whether you're a buyer or seller, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, generally, yes, you have to build the skill set of getting your message across effectively and efficiently to people that you can serve with your service. And you have to be able to analyze numbers. I mean, that is part of the skill set of being a wholesaler. You have to, and I think that's one of the underrated benefits about being a wholesaler, is because I learned a lot by basically coming across opportunity, going to people that I trusted already in the community and knew were buyers, and they taught me how they evaluated their numbers before I even had a deal under contract. Or I just invite them to say, hey, let's go look at a property. So it's just finding those ways to build your own opportunity to learn those skill sets in real time through experience. Right. I think that's a skill set in itself.
For sure. All right, Rich, tell everybody in the audience why they need to come listen to Brysan at the Gateway to Freedom event, March 4th and 5th.
Yeah. So if you've been watching Brysan talk here, it's pretty evident. The guy is smooth. He is freaking knowledgeable. He knows what he's talking about. He's going to give it to you straight. And he will. And that is the biggest reason why we asked him to come on, is because as the speaker in the event, is because he knows his stuff. He knows wholesaling and other parts of real estate investing for sure. But for wholesaling, that's where he cut his teeth, and that's how he got on and got into the business. And he knows the ins and outs of the business. He knows the ins and outs of that part of the business. And he does it with integrity. Not like, you know, your shady guys that go out there and is like, take, you know, they want to make an offer on a property that's not in a great neighborhood, but they're going to use comps in Clayton and Ladue and stuff to no, really, this is worth $90,000. And I know anybody's watching this from out of the area, they're like, what? That's it? What are you buying, a garage or a blank empty lot? But you know, he knows the deal. He knows the business. He knows everything about this industry, specific to wholesaling and marketing and all of the little intricate parts of it. So that's why we had Brysan on as one of our speakers, man. And the guy just lights up, man. He lights up the room. So come on now, when he's in there, you're all going to be like, all right, this guy's got energy, and I love it. So that's a big reason.
That's, you know, after a 4-hour event, you put the energy guy at the end, right? The guy that's going to deliver and give you the most energy to keep it all high, right? So that's the same feeling that you're going to have whenever you go to the Gateway to Freedom. There was a question that came in, and this is a great question. Are there certain states that are better to wholesale in versus others? And that was asked by Jenna Hover here, one of the participants. So are there certain states that are better to wholesale in versus others?
From my experience, I know there's a couple states that are maybe not the best in. I can't tell you who's the best, but I know that they're, you know, Rich is shaking his head because Illinois is one of those states that I'm not a lawyer or licensed in Illinois, so I don't know exactly. I don't want to incorrectly state their laws around wholesaling, but I know there is limitations around it. That's what I will say. I know that for sure. But I know St. Louis or Missouri is a great state for it. I know I have friends almost in, I guess, 30 states that I can think of that have great, thriving wholesaling businesses. I'll say that much.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. So you guys heard it. St. Louis is a good state to wholesale in from the wholesaling expert here. Absolutely. So you guys are going to want to attend the Gateway to Freedom event that we have coming up on November 4th and 5th. I'm sorry I can't get to all of your guys' questions today. I want to be honorable of everybody's time. But if you do have more questions, guess where you can get those questions answered? Gateway to Freedom. At the Gateway to Freedom event.
What have we been talking about today?
Yeah, what happened 4 hours later, right?
Yeah.
Wait, I just woke up.
So thank you so much from Rich and Josh and I, Brysan, so much for being on the show today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. My audience appreciates you being on the show, doing the Gateway to Freedom Speaker Showcase. We've been going now 3.5 hours. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Great work, gentlemen. I appreciate it.